Okay, we're here. We're live. Chris
Awesome.
Cousteau. Am I saying it right? Cousteau?
Cousteau,
Chris
yes.
Cousteau.
Cousteau Christopher.
Cousteau
Uh,
Christopher.
Christopher is Christopher is my last name.
Very good. Even with the information and documentation and everything, still managed to get it wrong.
Oh no, doctor's office visits are fun.
Oh, I bet. Welcome to the podcast. Make or break.
Excited to be on. I'm ready. I'm geared up for it.
That's what they always say. In all seriousness, um, thank you for joining me today, and it's a pleasure to talk to you because we get to talk about some very cool stuff that you've been up to. I'm going to go with a thematic question. I'm going to use a
Mhm.
cold open here. What is the thing that you're trying to make? Hey, branding. What's the thing you're trying to make right now that, if you pull it off, changes everything for Gentrified?
What's the thing I'm trying to make right now that would change everything for Gentrified? Um, Probably the fan base, I would say. I am trying to make the fan base. I am trying to find the people who really resonate with the message and my music. I think that's going to be, which I mean, is kind of the generic answer. Like, well, if I had fans, but yeah, no, I am genuinely looking for those people that hear my music and are down for the cause. The people that, um, yeah, they're my whole thing is I stand for empathy and morality. That's my little catchphrase. And that's the truth. And so I want to find those people who follow their moral compass and are willing to fight for it, and hopefully like metalcore too.
That helps. Yeah. If
Yeah.
Which is something that you've actually found is this is kind of like one of the weird side effects of being on a discovery platform like TikTok is that unlike other digital streaming platforms who shall for now go uneffing named, there's with TikTok it's much more of a kind of Wild West scenario. So like people can just stumble on your content and not be listening to gent, metal, even metalcore, um, any other subgenres that we could probably lump in there as well. Tech metal, extreme metal. I mean,
Yeah.
if you had to like, okay, if you had to pick one, if you had to, I mean, I guess the clue's in the name. What the name of your solo project is?
Gentrified.
Nice. Even had that like little bit of stank on it. I love it. So like the number one thing that you're looking for is like a proper fan base. To be honest, I don't feel like that's a very stereotypical answer. I feel like
Mm,
people always have different answers to that. It's variations on a theme, but like you wouldn't believe some of the answers I get. But
yeah.
do you feel like it's easier or harder to get like a fan base with something like a TikTok? I mean, given the performance that you've had recently, like it's been a really big blow up. Like in 2 months, you got like 16,000 followers. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So and that was the insane part. And I think kind of going back to what you were saying about um the kind of the Wild West nature of it. There's going to be some posts where you're like, hey, like I am tagging that, like the description is very much about metalcore music and very much about these specific things, and my tags are specifically metalcore, gent, deathcore. That's what I added. And then you'll get like 5 comments. The first 5 comments are just like, oh, I never listened to this kind of music, but it's like interesting that you're doing this. Or like, why are you here? So that you definitely get the Wild West aspect of it. But yeah, the growth has been just insane, to say the least. It very much started with my first song that I've released recently here. This song shouldn't exist. That is the name of the song. There has been some confusion. They're like, okay, this song shouldn't exist, but what's it called? That is the name. That is the title. Um, I really started pushing just that song, and it actually only took me a couple of videos, and it yeah, and TikTok just kind of ran with it, and I was really surprised by that. And I think there's that element of luck with the Wild West in terms of my existing follower count, because yeah, I was writing or making videos about that song, which I'm like, hey, this is a fundraiser. I am donating this. All the profits and proceeds from this song shouldn't exist directly to Palestinian relief funds. It's a song very critical of the Israeli government and the U.S. government, and essentially yeah they're, they're causing of this genocide.
Right.
Their participation, it's not even participation, because it's fully like it's their fault. Like they're like, we are going to continue this and just kill innocent people because profits. And Yeah, so I decided I'm gonna make this song as a fundraiser, and I posted that on TikTok, and I think it was like 2 or 3 videos of me posting that, and then like one of them just blew up, and I got 500,000 views and like 135,000 likes, um, and people were, yeah, it was very validating. I will say that, where I'm like, I'm putting this out there, and like we need to make a difference about this, and I really hope that people are on board. And I think what it really showed me was the collective unity that we have, and how much support there actually is that isn't being portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I that was a huge part. I think that I gained like 10,000 followers from that one post alone, and then I posted more videos about it that also went semi-viral, and I think now I'm at like 17 something thousand followers. But yeah, it's very interesting, where I would say it's definitely my followers and I would say fans, to varying degrees, but it really hit the mainstream, and that was something that I was not expecting. I think it's one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, I do like metalcore and deathcore and this kind of thing, and like, how funny, or how fun would it be if it's like this hit the mainstream. And um, but yeah, a lot of the comments were like, I never listened to like this kind of music. I never listened to metal, and like, I'm fully in support. Love the song. This is awesome. And so that was crazy. That was the amount of support from the non metalhead communities was that was incredible. They really showed up. And so yeah, I have a lot of followers that are, you could care less about metal, but are really here for the, I guess, the message. And that is, yeah, that was huge.
That's a pretty big one as
Um,
well, because
and
like,
yeah,
to jump in, I mean, I think that's the, speaking as someone who has been listening to everything from mathcore to Nintendo core since high school and beyond.
yeah,
And so saying like, I cannot tell you, and you probably have experienced this, but I cannot tell you how many times I've had the conversation of, yeah, I listen to like pretty heavy stuff. And people are like, oh yeah, like Linkin Park, or like
yeah.
Metallica, like Metallica, and I'm like,
Whoo, whoa there.
yeah,
Pump the brakes.
yeah, for sure, you betcha. Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, here's Converge, just for fun, just to start things off. Just
I
like,
know, right?
I mean, that's just the palate. That's the sorbet to cleanse the palate. I mean,
Yeah.
I
We're
mean,
gonna start off light and make our way up. Yeah.
yeah, like let's show you Black Tongue next, and then let's do some,
Yeah.
like there's, it's like deathcore is like an arms race. I always liken it to, where it's how utterly off-putting one can be, with the
Yeah, there's a
combination
lot
of
of that. Yeah.
vocals, half timing, and just like the more wavy the
Hmm.
E string is, the better. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
and I think Gent is just a natural blood brother to that, race
Yeah.
to the bottom.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. Gent as a genre has which is according to Periphery not a genre, is it? It's been a very interesting kind of evolution, because I think you were having bands that were like, oh yeah, like, this like kind of technical syncopated, like, interesting riff stuff, like that's, that's gent. And then it started becoming, I guess, a little bit more melodic and light, and then you started getting like, Polyphia and that kind of, that vibe out of it. But then you also had the split, and Buster Oldham is like, I'm gonna go this way. And then you get like fall. and and yeah, I find it interesting because there's I feel like out of that, from kind of like metalcore, there was like, birth the semi like gent subgenre, which then got like reabsorbed into metalcore, and that's kind of like just now what metalcore kind of is.
Yeah, it's funny that you
And
mentioned that.
so I thought that was a yeah.
It's funny how there's like gonna be waves, but both in and out, and I think that that comes down to something that actually is kind of key to all of this is like the community. So whenever there's a genre,
Hmm.
what you're trying to carve out are specific spaces where you have very specific tribes, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
at a particular show. It's like it's all very high school, but that's kind of the point. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to see this type of person at that show for this band that I love. It's like people fight over shit like that all the time in hardcore, power violence, tough guy, hardcore, beat down,
Uh,
all that shit. Metalcore especially as well, because metalcore is like one of those hotly contested terms. I remember back when in like 2005 when that was absolutely not something to call somebody ever, or somebody's band ever. Uh, and then mathcore was always like such a term that, I mean, God bless Mathcore Index. Those guys are rocking it still to this day. But like, man, have I heard some people like turn their nose all the way up at that term. And yet it's endured
mhm.
because it's like, well, it's mathy, guys. Clues in the name.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we're trying to do here. And it's also like
Yeah.
precludes a lot of other stuff. But like, I think I think that's my biggest thing is like the genre piece of this goes with community, so that's really closely aligned to the fan base of this, which if you're
Mhm.
not performing live, it's kind of hard to conceptualize exactly where you fit in or slot in. It's like, do you see yourself aligning with a particular type of crowd? And then when you actually get to that show, you're actually at that venue, do you actually jive with them or do they fuck with you? Like, it's kind of a hard
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
So it's actually a really interesting question without you having the data of like being at a series of shows and touring or playing a lot, which is logistically a bit of an a bit of an interesting conundrum for yourself because it is a solo project.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I guess yeah, kind of doing the shadow of intent thing of just being the internet band, and then people are like, "Hey."
I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it work with a solo. I've seen
Hmm.
solo noise projects, solo. I mean, for God's sake, agoraphobic nosebleed even performed shows eventually. Their whole point was
Yeah.
that they didn't, but then they've played shows. So this is it. Is I'm like, without that data, it's just a lack of data. That's all. That's all it is. Is like that
Yeah.
who your fan is, while it's hard to tell from like who's actually listening to the song versus who's supporting it in the tech in like on platforms like TikTok.
Yeah. Out of the yeah. Yeah. No. Absolutely. And so I've definitely, there's definitely those followers that I'm like, oh, they really enjoy the music and they really enjoy the message. And yeah, and then there's a lot of the followers that are just like, hey, like totally here to support, and totally not my music. And I'm super super grateful for those kind of people, because yeah, yeah, just to have that kind of support from something where you're like, like I don't ever listen to this music, but I'm just going to support anyway because like doing it for a cause. Like that's really cool. I think that's um really, yeah, really selfless of a lot of them, and I very much appreciate my non-metalhead community as as well. Um, and yeah, it's interesting, starting as a solo project. I think eventually, I would like to have Gentrified be a band. I'm based out of Santa Barbara, California, though, and it's about as metal as a wet napkin here.
Oh,
So it's a
really?
little,
Okay.
yeah.
I did
So
not. I
I'm
was
like,
not aware of that.
it's you have to go down to LA if you want to get any
Oh, wow.
anything like that. Yeah.
Damn.
So yeah, so it's interesting, kind of being in you know sunny Santa Barbara, palm trees, surfer vibes, and then just being this kind of like metalcore, deathcore gent solo project where I'm like I'm gonna find my people out there somewhere, but it's not gonna be here. So I think that is a good portion of going online with it too. I've done very little local, like, push for my music or anything, because I'm sure there's going to be some people here and there that'll be interested in it, but it's going to be a lot of work for very little return.
Well,
But yeah, it's
I was going to jump in because like I
yeah.
can't help but like start to um, point out, just give some pointers because
Hmm.
while it would be a bad idea to oversaturate your local scene because you don't want to be playing
Hmm.
like fucking 6 shows a year in your local scene, don't do that. Don't do that because then all of a sudden people are like, I didn't catch him. Yeah, I'll catch him in the next month or whatever. Like,
Yeah, next month.
yeah.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Make sure that it's at most 2 a year, and I swear each of those has to be like such a good reason for you to be playing it. They will be great if
Yeah.
you can get them, but like I would definitely start the circuit of like dominate your local scene so that you can get the word out there, and then you can like cut your teeth on it because the stakes are a little bit lower, and but you have a much more captive audience, and you can be everybody is part of a community no matter whether they want to be or not. Okay,
Yeah.
if you don't want to be part of that community, you just don't play. But if you are going to those shows, playing those shows, guess what? You're now part of the dynamic, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, just because you don't want to be part of like so then by virtue of that, if you take your um, stance or your values to it, I can't imagine that you wouldn't immediately rise to the top or whatever of that particular scene in terms of helping others, kinship,
Yeah.
camaraderie, and because every DIY space, uh, for any genre, I don't care what I don't care what genre. DIY is independent, and independent is DIY. Uh, you can argue that it's a scale. I've heard it before. It's not really important or relevant. What matters most is being able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing what I need to for others,
Yeah.
and it's kind of that's kind of your thing. I mean, you talked about a little bit about what this is already what you were talking about with respect to where this song shouldn't exist was about. I was going to ask you, since we're basically on this topic now, is you've said I stand for empathy and morality. Can you give
Hmm.
me a concrete moment where that stance cost you, whether it was money or reach or relationships or whatever?
Hmm. Um, I think I think this comes to a bigger kind of overall issue that I find kind of within society, especially westernized society. Um, what it has cost me is little comforts. You know, I don't go to Starbucks. I don't go to McDonald's. You know, oh no. So I don't know. I think it's like the cost for standing up for these kinds of things. Um, a big majority of it is like the little comfort item type things, and And yeah, I think it becomes a larger issue because there's all these little smaller comforts that kind of keep us in this really, you know, bogged down, uncomfortable place, but it's familiar. And so much of the time, people will choose, a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. And I understand that it's part of our psychology, our evolution, because familiarity equals safety. But we're at a point where we're able to get beyond that, and we absolutely need to see that kind of as a collective, where it is uncomfortable to try new things, even if they're good for you. But in the end, it's like this is beneficial to you, and this is beneficial to you know the people around you. And so if you give up the the small little discomforts, or I guess the small little comforts that are a part of this bigger picture, then yeah, you're able to eventually get yourself to an overall just better, more stable place. So yeah, for instance, Starbucks, yeah, and McDonald's directly funding the genocide in Palestine. Um, I know you like your coffee in the morning, and sure, the McMuffin can be tasty, but yeah, for me, it's like I'm absolutely willing to sacrifice that so that a child doesn't get bombed. And I think we're seeing these levels of apathy built into our communities and our society that it has become a real issue. And that's largely what Welcome to the Abyss is about, is those levels of societal apathy, and also how we got here. Because I'm not the song itself, I'm not claiming to be a saint. I'm like, hey, like, I get it. Because like I feel apathetic to a lot of stuff too, just because it's this constant barrage of traumas and tragedies that we've gone through for past like decades. And I think one of the things I point out is kind of like, it's largely, I want to say, started with the Vietnam War and the um, essentially we started getting mass media coverage of war. And that was like, I feel like that was kind of the start of it. And here we are, however many years, decades later, and yeah, you get people out there who really couldn't give a shit, more or less, if a child gets bombed, if they get their coffee at Starbucks. It's like, whatever. Doesn't apply to me. And there's definitely a part of me that's like, yeah, I can understand being tired, and I can understand feeling worn down, bogged down. And it's also like, we can't stay here. Like, we really can't stay here. Like, and it kind of feels like people aren't, I don't know, it feels like people aren't trying as much anymore. And it's like, people aren't going to be willing to die for something if they're not willing to live for it either. And I feel like there's been a lot of just life stripped away from just our societies and our communities, and a lot of that has been stripped away. And then the people are just like, well, I don't really have anything to fight for. I don't have a whole lot to live for. And it's like, whatever. I guess it's going to be the coffee from Starbucks. And so it's a vicious cycle. And so I'm taking that step to be like, hey, like, I understand it. It sucks where we're at, and being completely traumatized and burnt out, and like, final push, like, we got to fix this. So I think that's that's a long answer to your
Yeah, no,
original
that's
question,
okay.
but
I actually, I know that it's hard to like pivot away from a specific example, so let me help you with a different one. And this is going to be a
Mhm.
really cheeky, shitty one for you, okay? No, and
Okay.
the reason I ask this is because A, I am my own worst critic, because my own worst critic does research and is a bit of an asshole.
Mhm.
So, but also, I think that the level of cruelty that I show to myself, it's not unheard of. So I'll ask the hard questions. And so I got a hard one,
Mhm.
that possibly. You've pointed to specific corporations that you don't
Hmm.
mind at all like sloughing off in terms of it doesn't affect you. One could argue, given the recent investment from Daniel Ek into drones,
Spotify, yeah.
Spotify, that's the biggest growth engine for musicians today. Given what you've said
Hmm.
about these other things, do you think that you would follow suit with applying that to that as well?
Yeah, and that's definitely something I've thought about, 100%. Um, and and I think the way I go about it is that um, in situations like that, if we took all of the small independent bands and stuff like that and boycotted Spotify and said like we're going to release our music elsewhere, it is one of those situations where it's like that's not going to be doing a huge difference, you know. That's going to like the bottom line for Spotify is going to be affected a little bit, but it's the larger bands and the larger artists that honestly need to step up about this. So am I just like whatever? No, yeah, not my problem. No, I on TikTok and stuff. I'm actively like bashing Spotify. I'm like, my music is on there. If that is like really your only choice, and this is how we're going to generate revenue to save children, you know, sure. Like if you want to make that choice, then I'll have it there. But I'm also very active in being like, no, Spotify sucks. Like yeah, I'm very active in saying, hey, their CEO literally just funded killing children. Their CEO put $600 million towards that. Wake up, like and there's services out there. There's services out there that will take your Spotify playlists and transfer you over to a new service for free or for very very small amounts of money. And so I try to promote those where I can as well. And so yeah, there's always there's always going to be those spots where it's a no-win situation, but I always think there's going to be a lesser of two evils and a way to make the best of what you got. And and yeah, so it's like there's gonna be those aspects where it's just like no ethical consumption under capitalism, but we can still do our best and we can still raise consciousness and we can still call out these corporations and make people aware of like what they're doing.
Okay. I like that you've considered it. I
Oh yeah,
a
absolutely.
total cynic might be like, yeah, well, you've just kind of explained away why it's something that does still serves you, but you
Hmm.
have considered it. And I will point out that like
Yeah.
as well, there's no easy answer because you're right. That's a shitty question because it's like it's the
Hmm.
same thing of like, oh, well, you're criticizing social media while using a phone. That's what I
Yeah,
would say
you're
back.
on Facebook. How dare you?
You're
Yeah,
on
yeah, and it's like it's
Yeah, you're right. My shit also stinks. That's the point.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
reminds
and
me.
I think
I'm sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead.
no, 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 and I think it does it comes back to that where it's like yeah, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, especially not American capitalism, but that doesn't mean that you don't try to do your best to have the system move away from that and try to call it out because the fact of the matter is you cannot exist in America and not have blood on your hands. Like as soon as you're born,
Boom.
it's just like that's the reality. And and it's like yeah, it sucks. It sucks that if you are you know if you're somebody who eats meat, like I'm blood type O, I need protein, man. I am a meat eater. It's like it sucks. I understand that, animals are in cages and they are being put in horrific situations and then being killed, and it's like that is brutal and they absolutely don't deserve that. And if you're vegan, then you are contributing to slave labor and child slave labor. And so it's like, okay, who do you care about, the animals or brown people? It's like
There you go.
damn, like this is our existence. And so yeah, I think a lot of people can use the ethical consumption under capitalism as a excuse to like just be like okay whatever, but I very much use it as like you know understand where we're coming from and actively try to make a difference about it.
Right.
you know yeah, as somebody who eats meat, it's like yeah, I would definitely pay more money to eat meat if I knew that these animals were not living in horrific, situations. If it wasn't like, 20 chickens to a small little like, cage. Like, yeah, I would pay extra money for that. And yeah, I would pay, extra money if it meant that the, people, you know, getting whatever like vegan food options, or just it doesn't even have to be vegan food. It's just like, yeah, if you want a salad, yeah, I'd be willing to pay more for a salad if it meant that a child wasn't like breaking their back to make it
Right.
happen.
Yeah, if you
So
had the
yeah.
resources. Do you have the resources?
um I I I mean, I would make it happen
Oh no,
one way
what I
or
meant
another,
was is like you as a
oh
person,
oh oh like
do
yeah.
you get to make those choices?
Singularly.
Like you,
Yeah.
specifically you, do you get to make those choices all
Hmm.
the time?
No.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I was about to say, I was like,
Yeah.
if you are, good for you. You must be doing all right. But it's like it's hard out here for like base consumption, and that's kind of the
Hmm.
point. Uh,
Yeah, no, and that's exactly the point. And I think we have to be realistic with ourselves too, and the ways in which, we're able to operate. Because I think the other extreme of it is like, okay, well then, like, if you're aware of all this stuff, then like you need to be putting 110% effort into making sure that you don't like contribute to any of these corporations, and don't this or that. And that makes life a living hell, and you become decisioned out, and trying to just, let alone research, like a singular meal would be absolute hell to make sure that you're doing it ethically. And so I think there's a balance where you need to understand, like, I'm going to do my best while not completely burning myself out, because if I don't put the oxygen mask on myself first, then I'm not going to be helpful to anybody.
yep.
Like, I absolutely, and so that's a lot of it for me. It's like, yeah, I keep my music on Spotify because I know that that's going to help grow my following, and that's going to be that's the majority of people listen on Spotify, and that's where I get the majority of the funds. And um and so, yeah, I understand that it's an evil, and I try to actively tell people like, hey, don't use this, switch it. But I'm going to use it because if I can use that to get to a better spot where I'm able to help more people, then I think that's worth it. You know, I think that's going to be worth it in the end, if I'm going to be able to make a larger impact and a more of a difference by using those to get to a point where I'm able to have that influence where I can really start like making waves. So I think that's kind of the philosophy for me is, I'm not, I think it's misattributed to Machiavelli, but like the Machiavellian ideology, or utilitarianism, where it's like, do the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. And I largely agree with that, but I think that it often um, doesn't, uh, attribute enough to like pain and suffering, and what, the cost of that. Because if you're like, well, everybody gets to live semi-comfortable lives, but children have to be bombed for that to happen. It's like, no, that's not worth it. That is not, I do not consider that the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, because the amount of suffering that those children, women, and men, the innocent people, are going through does not outweigh the comforts of the many. So I think there, I think it needs to be weighted differently, but that's kind of where I come from it. And so, yeah, that's like, yeah, I very much, I'm always trolley probleming my moral compass, and figuring out like
Well said. Yeah.
what's
Yeah. Listen, that's kind of like living in modern society. And actually,
yeah.
I think it if we move it to more like the musician side, actually, um,
Hmm.
I actually wonder, like when it comes to your pain points as a musician, you specifically you're wearing nearly every hat. Writing, producing, mixing, mastering, video, visual effects. And so I have to
Yeah.
ask, where do you feel the biggest skill bottleneck or burnout risk?
Social media.
This is the answer
Which
I
I think
get.
is like every
This is the
every creative's like.
every single creator. This is why I'm obsessed with cracking the code for every user.
Yeah.
Like every single if I could give you one thing, and it was if I could basically tell you, hey, for the rest of your life, whenever you go to make content, it'll be easy, quick,
Hmm.
cheap, and effective, would you take that over 10 grand?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would.
There you go. Would you take it over
Yeah,
a
I mean,
hundred
like
grand
because like that's uh
for the rest of your life?
probably.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. For the rest of my life, I
Aha.
could like if I could do that, then I'm gonna make 100 grand out of that.
Ease
Like,
like beyond because
yeah,
it
like,
every time you touch it, you're gonna like it's just gonna flow from you.
yeah,
I
yeah. Because it's like I'm already doing everything else. If that was like the easiest thing on my list to do, I'd be unstoppable. But I'm just like, it takes me. I'm already trying to do like the easy, quick, method of trying to create effective little TikTok clips and stuff to post to social media. And it's like it's like 1 minute videos and somehow they take me an hour to make. I just like
oh that
it's like
stings.
I'll record the minute. Yeah, like I'll record the minute video, and somehow from the time it takes me to like start the process of like just like I'm recording the video, I've recorded the video, now I'm gonna like edit it in the TikTok editor, and then I'm going to write out my little description, and I'm going to make sure I got all the little hashtags, and then I'm actually going to post that, and then hopefully my ADHD, I don't forget to like, okay, now it's time to like cross post to Instagram and stuff, and then I go over to Instagram, and then I have to like find the video on my phone, and then and then it's like by the time I like actually do all of that, I'm like an hour has passed. Like I
Oh man.
it's bad.
Oh well, I'm gonna
So that is not my strong suit.
no no and listen, it's also an absolute bugger for me as well. That's why in recent years I've been playing a lot with socials and trying to and
Mhm.
I've had some pretty big blow ups, which is good. But they were all for this is the next pain point we're going to talk about, but like they were all for shit that wasn't on brand for me at all. So if I had something that blows up and it's personality content, for instance, but I'm a musician and it's not about the music, well, guess what? That didn't do a thing because
Yeah.
just because you have one video go viral does not mean that people know you or will remember you or
Hmm.
even follow you
Yeah.
or sign up for your email list or download your track or add your playlist. Like, so the big thing to focus on, this is the funniest thing though, because like the next question I would ask you is like, if your socials went out tomorrow, who would you be able
Hmm.
to contact? This is
Right.
it. And this is the thing, is like you already said to me, like, man, like I like when it comes to fan
Some friends
base.
and family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And listen, I'm the same
My
way.
socials are gone. Yeah.
Yeah, like so it's all about that email list. And that's the big thing is
Hmm.
discovering the email list. And that's something that every musician is told and they don't understand why until I use the D-Day scenario. And they're like, "Oh. Oh yeah." But then I would have to email them and I'm like, "Yeah. Yeah. I think musicians
Yeah.
do not it's such an underdeveloped space and I actually sign up for as many musicians newsletters as I can because I want to see what they're all up to. And I'm gotta tell you,
Hmm.
it's fucking dog shit most of it because it's all just self-serving stuff.
Yeah.
There's no like it's it's very much label run and very
Hmm.
much self-serving and advertising
Yeah.
and I get it. So I guess what I'm really wondering is like if we took one recurring task off your plate weekly that would like 10x your headspace, would it be social media?
Probably. Yeah. So yeah, social media email list.
Yeah, the email list and also having developing the funnel that goes from social media to the email list. That's the big one, right? Is
Hmm.
like having like a
Yeah.
natural like conversion. They call it a funnel.
Yeah.
It's part of the marketing funnel. You see, there are people that are
Yeah.
solution underwear and problem underwear.
Yeah.
Marketing
Yeah.
marketing terms aside, because yuck. outside of DSP revenue, what's working right now in terms of monetization? Like, and this is a very unfair question a lot of the time. So like, do not feel like this is like a, oh shit, should I already be doing? Nope. Just asking, is there anything else that's working outside of DSP revenue for monetization, such as Bandcamp, merch, fundraising, drops, memberships, anything like that?
Yeah, so I have some like ideas for merch and stuff. I haven't gotten around to doing them. Um, but
We make our own
yeah,
merch.
the
I'm
the
just
tit
saying.
yeah, yeah. TikTok has made money. And all of it, which I'm going to, yeah, pretty much all of it, which I'm going to be donating, because all of it. I said I'm going to donate 100% of the profits and proceeds made from the song and the music video from the song shouldn't exist, but I feel like the TikTok videos, I'm throwing those in there because they blew up, because of the song, because of the fundraiser, and so I'm just like that's extra money that I feel deserves, yeah, to go to Palestine. I'm not going to pocket that. Um,
It's huge.
so yeah, I think in the last month, $129 or something, you know. So it's a small amount for now, but yeah, hopefully can grow that. Bandcamp, have gotten donations through Bandcamp. I think a total of like $41 so far. Um, and yeah, so the monetization's still at the beginning stages. But yeah, definitely talking about funnels. My TikTok page, largely due to the videos I make about this song shouldn't exist. Um, my TikTok has around nearing like a million channel views and like 250 something like 1,000 likes. And on Spotify, I'm reaching 30,000 views or listens. So it's kind of it's one of those things where it's like okay, where's the disconnect? Because I'm telling people like, if you want to help, listen to the song. you know, luckily the videos on TikTok are monetized. Those that helps too. Um, but yeah, so I've worked on different ways on like how to try to optimize that kind of funnel
Hmm.
as well. So yeah, but it's a struggle.
Of
It's a
course
lot
it
of
is.
trial and
This is
error.
not easy stuff, eh? Like, even
No.
labels get this wrong a lot. So don't. This
Yeah.
is like I said. I couched that question. I prefaced that question very intentionally with, "Hey, not this is not a gotcha. This is if something else is
Yeah.
happening."
No.
No, instead of it just gives a proper idea of like what it's where you're at. If there is anything else
Yeah.
that's seemingly, it would be like the equivalent of, and this has happened where it's like, "Hey, I know that you told me all about this one channel. Is there anything else?" It's like, oh yeah, well, there's also this five-figure sum that I'm getting from, and it would be like, would if I had not asked, would you have not told me? It's important not for me
Yeah.
to have for the campaign, but for me to understand what things you can leverage. So knowing that
Yeah.
that is you have whatever amount that you have monetized as whatever amount it is, that's essentially going to be used to put your money where your mouth is. Essentially, where it's as you said, this is a movement, and that's the next thing I wanted to talk about is
Hmm.
if you framed Gentrified as a movement, not just a band.
Hmm.
I have to
Yeah.
ask, like, what behaviors do you want your community to adopt in the next 90 days, let's say, that would prove it's a movement?
I would like them to take the actionable steps. Um, I think I try to be really realistic around what it is to be a movement now. Um, I think a lot of people, you see comments all the time that are like, yeah, we absolutely need to band together and rise up and take them down, or we need to do this, and it's like, yes, how do we do that? So
Right.
I think for me, I try to make it the actionable steps. These are the steps that you can take. This is like these are and especially the small actionable steps. And I think that's important as a smaller, pretty much brand new, you know, like artist, social media influence, whatever. You can't be like, all right, like, hey there, TikTok for you page, like you don't know me at all, and like I'm gonna ask you to go to this this protest, and like show up and then like do these things. It's like some of them might be like, yeah, okay, cool, got it, but then a lot of them are like, that's a lot. And so it's like I'm not at that point where I can ask followers to be like dedicated and like, hey, we need to like show up for this. So that's why I'm like, hey, for free, you can stream this song, you can stream this music video, you can share it out, and that's it. That's all you have to do, and that's going to help.
I see.
That's literally going to help save lives. And so I think that's that's part of my strategy where I'm like I need to make this as simple as possible, because I'm going to need momentum before looking to do the larger the larger steps. And so yeah, I'm from my legitimate fan base, I would want my fans to be those people who are willing to take the steps, who are willing to see like, hey, like we band together, yeah, we do make a difference, and that it starts on this level and it starts with us. Because yeah, the reality is that a lot of people don't do anything because they're like, I'm just one person. When you get a lot of one persons together, shit happens. you
Yeah.
know and so it's just realizing that. And so yeah, I'm trying to build that momentum, and I want the people who are willing to take those actionable steps and actually march forward. And that's who I'm looking for. Yeah, those are the kind of people that I want in my fan base, who are willing to actually work towards creating change.
Okay. So I've got several follow-ups. So I guess this is the part where I kind of have to choose between which angle to explore. I guess if I wanted to be a bit more clear, I guess when I'm thinking about audience and community, um,
Hmm.
what is one thing you want fans to do together this quarter beyond streaming that ladders into your mission?
Okay, beyond streaming. Um, so like outside of the music aspect of it.
Or at least outside of the streaming aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that kind of gets into the larger actionable steps. But actually chatted with Sammy Obeid, a comedian who does a lot of like like comedy and stuff around what's happening in Palestine and the genocide, and super intelligent uh, dude, and his comedy is art. Like straight up. Um, but yeah, I asked him, I'm like, what do you think the actionable steps, what can we do, from the audience, like what can we actually do to make a difference? And what he said was, I think it's the weapons manufacturers. I think that's where we need to go. That's like what we need to figure out. How do we, essentially like how do we shut that down? And so yeah, if I'm dreaming a little bit big of this next quarter, yeah, how cool would it be to get get supporters to organize some kind of social media protest, or protest in person at you know various weapons manufacturers, just to really bring attention to like, this is where it's starting, this is where it's getting funding, and this is who benefits, because it's like this whole the whole genocide in Palestine, the the leaders do not give a shit about anything other than money, power. That's what it comes down to. It's like they want the land, they want the real estate,
So
and
my question is,
weapons manufacturers. Yeah,
how do you impact that? How do you go after that?
yeah. No, I think that goes to joining actual you know joining actual groups, finding the actual protest organizations, and or starting your own. I think at a community level, that's where we can start. And so I think this is, it's a little bit hard because I'm decentralized. I'm the online you know presence essentially that gets sent everywhere. So it's like I'll have a lot of support in a bunch of like little like places. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, I don't exactly know. It's like, how do I really use the amount of support I have right now that's kind of spread out everywhere? Like, how can I ask people to band those people to band together in a way that's meaningful and targeted to make a difference? And so I think I'm not totally sure at the moment with this level of um, following. I think that's why I'm continuing to just try to grow. I think I'm trying to figure out like how to get bigger, more influence, so that when the time comes, be like, all right, hey, I want you all to let's go to like ACLU because there's this one I don't know, there's this like you know one law that's trying to get passed that's really bad, and we should laser focus on this, try to strike that down. Um, yeah, I think we get a lot of things that were spread too thin over, and I think it's part of that is kind of by design. I think that especially this administration, it's like let's fire out as much shit as we can so that nobody can focus.
Right.
And so I think it starts with like, okay, let's use let's use our numbers and laser focus on something, and take targeted like approaches.
Yeah.
And I think yeah, so yeah, a little bit of a politician's answer there, but like, I don't totally know what I would do right now within the next quarter with my following and ask them like, hey, this is the targeted way as outside of streaming that you can, help. Um, but I think that if I was to do that, I would probably try to find an organization or a movement, or something specific to rally my fan base behind and say like, hey, this is one specific thing that we need to work on, and just kind of like make it simple, laser focus. This is the thing, and like for now let the rest of it wash away. Let's focus.
I think that's a huge, like, honestly, that having that level of insight and knowing that that's what the next step is in and of itself an important one. Before we go, because I know that we're approaching the end. Wanted to like do a little lightning round with you, but it's going to come with a little bit of the caveat of like it's going to be a little bit a little bit of origin story as well. So like with respect
Mm-hmm.
to your history, there was a part of your time as a young kid um,
Mm-hmm.
where you, due to a medication that you were having
Yeah,
like real time reaction to just a steroid inhaler. The doctors
steroidal inhaler. Yep.
doctors thought it was one thing. Turns out, not aware that you had a very rare and very fucked up reaction to it, which included
Yeah, near lethal reaction that caused me to also hallucinate.
in real time. Like,
Yep.
and so, how old were you at the time?
I was 12. Yeah.
Brilliant. So 12 years old and
Yeah.
hallucinating, and which brought on panic attacks, right?
Yeah, yeah. So essentially, it was a steroidal inhaler. So yeah, I found out that I have a like a near lethal reaction to steroids because it tried like shutting my nervous system down. So yeah, I get to say this is all natural. But yeah, basically, yeah. I what happened, and it's an extremely rare side effect of steroids that it can cause people to have hallucinations. And I was one of the lucky jackpot winners that got that side effect as well, along with it, like aside from it trying to shut down my nervous system. Um, and yeah, it just like it was it's hard to explain because it's like these were hallucinations, and it'd be like this is obviously a hallucination, but my brain was just like wired by it at the moment was um essentially like I would see something and my brain's like, yeah, this is 100% real and you were about to die. And it's just like
God.
anytime I saw something and it was embedded into reality. So it wasn't like I was like on a full like mushroom trip or something where I was just like completely alternate reality. It was like the best way I could describe it was like imagine you're the main character in like the scariest paranormal horror film of like all time. And it's like that was my existence. And yeah, so I would you know yeah, it'd be like you close the mirror, something's like standing behind you, like grotesque, and like, and yeah, I would see like these hallucinations, at the worst of the worst, it was maybe like 50, 60 times a day. I'd have like things happening, and it's just like I knew on a conscious level that's like okay, like these are hallucinations, but in the moment as it happened, it was just like yeah, I don't know if like you've ever had those dreams where it's like those like adrenaline dreams where it's just that pure terror through your body. It
Night
was like
terrors.
that but worse.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's like you can't wake up. And so that was my existence for about a year before it finally wore off. And
Dude.
so yeah, I don't like hallucinate anymore. I'm not like, I'm not like psychosis or anything.
No, no,
It
no,
was
no. This is like a very specific
yeah.
acute reaction to something that
Hmm.
wasn't understood just yet. And then when it sort of happened, it was like I think of that age as 12.
Yeah.
God damn it, is that a really rough age for that to be happening? Because you're just young enough that
I know.
everything is
Just starting junior high.
right, but you're just old enough to think that you are not a kid, if you know what I mean. Like, you're like, oh, I'm 12
Yeah, it's
now.
that transitional
I'm an adult,
phase.
okay?
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about. Like, I know that we joke about how like 4 and 5 year olds can like think like that, but they
Yeah.
fundamentally understand that they are physically not
Hmm.
like adults. But when you're 12, you kind of
Yeah.
just have this level of I don't know, and but that's so. Anyway, one of my
Yeah,
biggest
I think
fears is going crazy, and like that to me just
hmm
sounds like absolutely like prescribed horror to me, which
yeah.
very neatly
Yeah.
ties into the theme that the question I was sort of meandering towards, which is that you are a horror enthusiast, are you not?
I am. Absolutely. I have a hell of a lot of content to pull from. Yeah, no, I am absolutely a horror. Yeah, unfortunately, the issue is that after having that experience, there's not many movies that live up to that level of fear. Um, but but I definitely, yeah, I actually I really enjoy horror as a medium, and yeah, this ties back into kind of like everything else I do. I think horror is an incredible medium for socio-political commentary, and it seems like a lot of people don't realize that it has been for a long time. And um, but yeah, like horror is this incredible genre with literally limitless you know possibility where you can really make an impact about these messages that you're trying to portray. It's a heightened experience. There's a lot of like fear, adrenaline, and that is a perfect medium to really be like, and here's a message that we need to get across. I think, unfortunately, there is a lot of horror specifically out there that is it's just there for shock value, which is desensitizing. And I very much think that, if you're going to use shock value, there needs to be a message behind it. It needs to have an impact and it has to have a reason. And I am no stranger to shock value. If you watch my music video for "This Song Shouldn't Exist," I am not, I do not shy away.
No.
But I definitely think there needs to be a very important message, behind it to back it up for it to be truly effective and not just a desensitizing, occurrence. So yeah. Long story short, though, I'm totally into horror of all kinds, and I have my guilty pleasures as well. I'm not perfect, I'm like, oh yeah, like, like whatever gory movie is out, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so fun, like sure.
I don't see that as a particularly,
but
I don't see it as unethical. So what if I like to watch Terrifier 3 with my kids? It's not a big deal. Okay. Who cares? He's 4. He's gonna see this at some point, babe.
Exactly. No.
God. Yeah, that's a rough. Just a disclaimer for anyone watching: I do not show horror films to my kids. Okay. Jesus.
And Terrifier 3 is definitely not a Disney film to show your kids either.
No. Although I'm surprised Disney didn't pick it up. Damn. Jeez. Okay. So, fun question to end everything off with then. One film or horror reference that's basically a secret Rosetta Stone for your work.
I'd probably say just Jordan Peele as a director. Um, he, I think in terms of like filmmaking, like he's the closest thing to like what I would want to do. Like for like film is just like, yeah, we're gonna make these very blatant socio-political points and take it. I don't know. I think there's this like I feel like there's been this propaganda of like like films and like music should just be like we just need to observe and then let the audience decide and like just portray it in a neutral light, and it's like
Nah.
no.
Yeah, fuck
I'm
all that.
I'm like the amount of times I have used the words false neutrality in my music, in my lyrics, like that is a dangerous precedent that has already been set.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think with my music and my art, I am very much contradicting that and challenging it.
I
Yeah.
think this is one thing. I'm going to sound like a real snooty know-it-all now. I want to preface this with I paid way too much money to know this particular piece of information, okay? But there is an essay by a French literary critic, theorist, whatever. His name is Roland Barthes, and he wrote this thing called The Death of the Author. Okay.
Mm.
All it is that he tried to provide this like sort of once and for all um, piece of critical theory that basically says like once that art is out, once the cat's out of the bag, that's it. You as an artist or as an author never get to try as you might. You're the second that full stop is there, the last note, you're dead to that art. And it always rung a little bit untrue with me because I was like, well, I can go on radio and I can go on podcasts and I can absolutely. And I think, obviously he wrote this in what, 67? So not exactly a lot of social media at the time. So it's a little harder to qualify that now. I would say I agree with you. I think we get to help create that meaning. However, it's also true. Two things can be true at the same time. I know, revolutionary concept, but Yeah,
paradoxes.
yeah, it's like, what? That's too much. I don't like that. You understand? I don't want that. I don't. No, that hurts my brain. No, I don't like that. No. What does it say? What does the Bible say? Two things. No, no. That's. I gotta get a different Bible. Um, sorry. Random impressions.
You're good.
Not random impressions. I told you I was gonna go full Nardwuar at some point.
At some point, yeah. What happens when Pinocchio says his nose is about to grow? Keeps me up at night.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, so I fully lost where I was.
Yeah, now that I've derailed the...
It's good.
I know.
Good. You derailed the French literary critical theory. Come on. Yeah, it's okay.
No, but I think it's also one of those things I think about where I'm like, at the time, that might have either been or at least seemed a lot more true for the time. And I think that in this age, it is no longer truth. I think there's aspects of it, of course, where it's like, I'm going to put this out there and then people are going to interpret it how they want.
Mm-hmm.
And that is absolutely, a part of it. But at the same time, it's like I release a song and then I go on genius.com where I submit my lyrics and then I'm like, hey, this is what I'm talking about. Like,
Hell yeah,
I'm going to
dude.
make no mistake. Like,
Oh my God. That's awesome.
when I say fuck your king, that's about Donald Trump. Like, I'm like,
who is this?
Yeah,
Who is this Couscous 0101? How do they know so much about...
This is really knowledgeable. Yeah.
How does he know he has such insight into this band?
Pretty much.
Well, I love that you dropped genius.com. I am that kind of... When I first learned about genius.com, I was like, yep, this is where I'm going to spend the next few months of my life. This is going to be great. It was almost as bad as tvtropes.com. It was bad.
Yeah, and that's the aside from like obviously like the DSP and getting my lyrics up on like Apple Music or Spotify, whatever. Mm-hmm. I only will actually submit my lyrics to genius.com so that if people look it up, it's like I don't want like as lyrics or whatever. Like I want genius.com so that you can read the lyrics and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Like if you want to look this up. And so I think in that vein you're going to have and again, it's small amounts of control. It's not full control, obviously. You can't just be like, hey, every single person that listens to my music is I'm going to make them go to genius.com. It's like you can't do that. But you can have influence, and have aspects of that, and then that will have its own, life. And so I love genius.com and being able to, kind of explain a lot about that, because that's the thing too, and this is actually one of the things I'll like realize in the moment as I'm like writing things out. It's one of those things where when I'm making the music, I don't exactly realize it, but then I'm like writing it out on genius.com and I'm like, oh shit, that was like a quintuple entendre. And I'm like, wait, hold up. Where it's like, it's kind of in the mind. I'm like, I'm coming up with this like this lyric, and I know it's about like these things, and I write it out, and then I go to Genius, and I'm like, okay, and this is about, oh my God, like, so there's those times where, like let's see if I can pull one up really quick. I think for Harbinger, the line, fuck your king and the false bells he rings. Let me pull it up here.
I think that I might have what you had said about this.
Oh yeah, I'd submitted that in the document as well.
You because there's so much here. This is actually super cool. So first off, I've got it here, so if you want, I can...
Yeah.
Okay, you said first off, fuck your king.
Yeah, go for it.
Obviously refers to Donald Trump, who acts as a dictator commanding his subjects, as well as playing off the No Kings protests. And it is an obvious reference to American history, as it was the very foundation
Mhm.
of our nation's government to rid ourselves of kings and monarchies. Furthermore, this takes a dig at the religious connotations. So the harbinger line is "fuck your king" and the false bells he rings. Well,
Mhm.
as as the Bible frequently represents Christ as king, and it lambastes Trump's religious supporters as false Christians who made him their king over Christ. This is further layered with the
Mhm.
line "and the false bells he rings," which alludes to not only false church bells representing a call to prayer to him, but also to Trump constantly and falsely ringing the alarm bells with all the false accusations, narratives, and fraudulent reasonings for declaring states of emergency he spews out to rile up his fan base with the aim at causing chaos that distracts from their hidden political motives, legislative movement, Epstein files, etc.
I'm like, I go on Genius. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, listen up, listen the fuck up.
Listen up, Kendrick. I got some quadruple
Yeah.
entendres too, motherfucker. Kendrick Lamar just going like, bet. All right, I can deal with that. uh,
Yeah, like Kendrick Lamar is like, well, yeah, you saw that like, one flick of my wrist in my music video. That's actually a, quadruple entendre in and of itself. And I'm like, oh.
well, I'm glad that you're aware of it and that you take inspiration from it. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah, no, Kendrick. Yeah, I'm like, I'm a huge metalhead, but I'm also like, yeah, like when there's artists like Kendrick Lamar who are just, yeah, absolutely going to be like, yeah, I'm gonna, like the viewer may not even realize that I'm absolutely like decimating, like, this, these movements or whatever, and it's just like I'm absolutely going to pick apart every single thing, within a couple of lines, and like you didn't even realize what hit you, and then it's like, and then you get the people who are like, okay, so welcome to part one out of 427 of, So yeah, I love that, and that's what I try to do with my music too. I think that my music, I really, um, I think instrumentally, if you just listen to like the instrumental, yeah, it's very gent, and like I don't even know if I can call it math core, because I don't do math. I'm just like, got some weird shit in here. I'm gonna make it
Right.
work.
Yeah, it's not that it's not
Yeah,
complex. That's not what we're saying. It's
yeah.
it's a different type of
It's just that.
complex. It's not math, but
Yeah,
it's weird. No, there's
we're gonna
definitely
call it 4-4, and yeah,
yeah.
call it a day.
You had one about the
But
spiral, which was really interesting. You had
mhm.
said about that oh my gosh, one sec. I have it here. In Welcome to the Abyss, in the verse where you talk about spiraling down,
Yeah,
the riff behind that verse goes from
yeah,
a full measure to three-fourths of a
hmm,
measure to half a measure to a
yeah,
quarter measure, which is it's like a spiral within the music itself,
yeah,
which I thought was so cool. It's like
yeah, yeah.
you can kind of clock that something is happening. You're not sure why
Hmm,
or what, and it makes you feel like, oh,
yeah,
I want to ask him about this, and then sure enough, there's the answer right there, and I'm like, check you out with your Easter eggs. I bet you like
yeah,
Breaking Bad, don't you?
yeah. Right. Yeah, no, and I think that's a huge part to my music, is like, my lyrics. I do make a little bit more direct. I try again, like I try to have those moments where it's like, it's a multi-layered, entendre, but like from surface level, like you're gonna understand exactly what I'm talking about, and I think that's necessary. Like I need the viewer to understand, like this is what I'm talking about. This is not okay, and like this is what we need to do something about. And so like surface level, that's going to be very obvious. I also think why my music probably feels a little bit more metalcore, than like, I guess like true gent or whatever, is because I specifically use um the vocal cadence to provide an easy flow, and there's going to be a lot of like, like messed up, parts of the instrumental that are like doing whatever, but I'm like, I'm going to use this vocal as like the anchor, and this is going to make it, flow smooth. But then people who want to like, listen in more be like, oh wow, that's really interesting. um for instance, the intro to Harbinger, um I don't know if you noticed anything weird about that, but it goes from 4 4 4 4 5 4 4 4,
I did not notice that, and now I'm a little annoyed.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's one of the things I try to do is like, I'm like, how can I add complexity into this without the viewer totally like feeling like the jolt? And so I'll add all those kind of little things like that.
Shit.
So there's plenty of Easter eggs and aspects to my music that I really I do try to chalk it full of those kinds of things because I do want um I do want like the fans who are like I want to dive into the music to have something to dive into and to really like have a multi-layered experience where you're just like able to like peel apart the different like layers and stuff. And I think kind of makes sense. Like Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite directors, and like you watch any of his films and it's just like an onion, and you're just like, oh, look at all the meaning and layers, like
Yeah.
So I think I take inspiration from like those kinds of things.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to thank you because having you on the podcast today was a very welcome change of pace and a very welcome um, a bit of time speaking with a fellow. I can't say fellow metalhead because I'm not really. I don't think of myself as a true metalhead, but basically heavy metal aficionado, uh,
Yeah,
heavy music aficionado.
yeah,
No, I really appreciate just hearing somebody staying true to their values and making stuff that's going to break stuff and not breaking in the face of what they're making. And other pithy platitudes to follow. Really
yeah. No, this
appreciate.
has been super fun. I've
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, and this has been a super awesome experience.
Hell yeah. Uh, Looking forward to working with you more in the future, and we're gonna have more chats, which is awesome. But
Awesome.
sad for the audience;
I'm
they
here
don't
for
get to
it.
hear more of it. It'll just be me and you chatting, but and then the rest of us here at V13. But we're
Yeah,
stay good, stay classy, stay cool, and keep doing your thing. And feel free to reach out. And yeah, thank you for joining us today.
absolutely. Thank you having me on. Thank you for taking me on as a as a client and helping me out because I definitely need a coat rack for all these hats.
Dude, you're wearing plenty of them. Um,
Yeah.
okay,